Plants you grow from kitchen scraps. In this video we are going to show you a fun way how to grow your own non-GMO food from common kitchen scraps. Note, you need to be sure that the food you are using is organic before you start with this homemade growing method. Kitchen scraps and growing plants. To be honest with you, we love composting all the kitchen scraps anytime we can. But usually when we fill up our bin or we don't have some vegetables in the garden, we just use kitchen scraps to grow plants. It's great activity for everyone. It's a great way to start new plants with just using kitchen scraps and a fun gardening activity. It's the best way to spend your free time, especially for people who like gardening. You need to check the plants how they are progressing and nourish them every day. And let me say this one more time. If you are going to try this home growing method, you need to be sure that the scraps you are using are with good quality and they are organic kitchen scraps. Growing leeks, spring onions, scallions, and fennel. Well, you can just go to the local supermarket and buy some vegetables for growing, or you can wait until you have a need for them in cooking some of your favorite meal. In all these vegetables you will use the end of the vegetable with the white roots. Here's what you need to do. First, you need to take the leftover white roots and place them in a container with a small amount of water in it. Well, you need to be sure that the roots are wet and you don't want the entire root submerged. After that, you need to take your container and place it in a sunny windowsill. We've actually grown green onion scraps in a fairly shady window on the north side of the house. So as you can see, the success may vary. You can keep some in the kitchen window and use it in your morning eggs or in your office just for snacking. In just 3 to 5 days you will begin to see new growth come up. Well, when you notice that you need to remove the produce as you need and leave the roots in the water to continually harvest your kitchen scrap crops. Note, make sure you change the water weekly to keep the plant healthy. Growing lemongrass. Well, we can say that lemongrass is similar to all other grasses, and because of that, all you have to do is place the roots you cut off into a container with water and put them by a sunny window. We've noticed that the lemongrass is a little more dependent than green onions and it leaks from above. And you will notice that after just 1 week there should be some new growth from your lemongrass. So when you have new growth, you will need to transplant the plant from the water into a pot with soil and put it back into the sunny window area. Note, make sure you wait until your lemongrass reaches a foot tall before you begin harvesting it. And follow the same procedure like before. You need to cut off what you plan to use in the kitchen and allow the other roots to continue to sprout. Well, to be honest, it's just like cutting your lawn, it will keep coming on if you keep it healthy and nourish it every day. Growing romaine lettuce, celery, bok choy and cabbage. Well, it's the same thing like the scallions. In order to grow your produce, you'll need to take the white roots of these vegetables as well. Here's what you need to do. Cut of the stalks or leaves with 1 inch or more and place them into a bowl of water with the roots facing down. And voila, you have started your own produce. You also need to be sure that the roots are in water, but you don't want to submerge the entire plant. And again, make sure you place the bowl with the plant near a sunny window and spray it with water 1 to 2 times every week in order to keep the top of the plant moist. Few days later you will notice the roots and the leaves sprouting. After 7 to 10 days you need to remove the plant from the water and you should plant it into soil with only the leaves above the soil. Your home produced plant will continue to grow, and in just few weeks you will have a new head ready plant to be harvested. But if you want a completely different way to grow your plant, you can also try by planting it directly into the soil. Just skip the water staging step from before. Note, make sure you keep the soil from drying out. This is extremely important for the first week. Growing ginger. Well, we can also say that ginger is one of the easiest plants to grow indoors. All you have to do is take a chunk of ginger from your kitchen scraps and place it into the soil. You need to be sure that the newest buds are facing up. Note, unlike the other plants we've mentioned before in this article, ginger will enjoy filtered light rather than direct sunlight. After just few weeks you will begin to see new growth sprouting up of the soil and under the soil. The ginger roots will begin to sprawl out into the soil. And when the ginger plant acclimates to its new home, you will be ready to harvest the next time you need ginger. Here's what you need to do. Just pull the entire plant out of the soil and cut off the pieces you need for cooking and just put back the rest into the soil, just like you did initially. Here's a ginger bonus. This plant also makes a great house plant. Even if ginger isn't your favorite ingredient for cooking, you can still get some aesthetic value out of the plant. Growing potatoes. Growing your own potatoes from kitchen scraps is a great way to keep more waste out of the garbage can. Well, we can say that you can grow any type of potato you like, just make sure the potato scrap has eyes growing on it. If you have potato that has strong presence of eyes, you can chop it up into 2-inch square pieces. And you need to be sure that each potato piece has at least 1-2 eyes. When you've cut your potato into pieces, you need to leave them out in room temperature for a couple of days. You must leave the pieces to allow the cut surface area to dry out and become callous, which will prevent the pieces from rotting in the ground. When you are growing potatoes, you will need a very nutrient-rich soil. So if you have compost, you need to be sure to incorporate some into your soil before you plant the potatoes. Note, when you are planting your potato cubes, make sure they are in the 8-inch depth range with the eyes facing the sky. And when you backfill your cube, you need to place 4 inches over the potato cube and leave the other 4 inches empty. After some time, as your potato grows and the roots begin to appear, you need to make sure you add more soil. Growing garlic. Here's how to grow your own homemade, organic garlic. All you need is a single clove to regrow an entire garlic plant. Here's what you need to do. Just place the end with the root down into the soil. Then you need to place your container in a warm part of your home with direct sunlight. When you've done that, you can sit back and wait for the garlic to root itself and begin to send up new shoots. Then your garlic becomes established in the soil. You need to cut back the shoots and the plant will begin to put all its resources into growing a big delicious garlic bulb. Well, it's pretty much the same thing like the ginger growing process. Once you've harvested your produce, you can repeat this process and run through the cycle again and again. Growing onions. Here's how to grow your own organic onions. You need to use the root end that you usually cut off when you use onions for cooking. These vegetables are awesome and great because they are easy to propagate. Make sure you keep ½ an inch of onion above the roots. And you will want to take your cutting and place it into your soil in a sunny place and cover the top with topsoil. Make sure you keep your soil moist. It's extremely important to keep it moist while the onion begins to establish itself. If your house is in the northeast, you need to be sure that you keep the onions indoors in a container during the cold winter days and nights. Note, if you do this process and keep planting the onion roots, eventually you should have enough onion plants going that you won't have to buy onions from the supermarket ever again. Growing sweet potatoes. Did you remember the potato growing process? Well, you need to follow the same rules and tips. So when you plant sweet potatoes, you want to use the eyes just like you did with the regular potatoes. You can bury the entire potato or pieces like you did with regular potatoes under a thin layer of topsoil in a damp and sunny place. After some time, you will have new shoots beginning to appear from the soil. So when these shoots begin to reach a height of 4 inches, you will replant your pieces, giving them around 12 inches between one another. Well, it will take probably around 4 months to grow sweet potatoes in this way. You need to make sure you keep a watchful eye out for slugs. They will be trying to eat your plant before you can. Note, when you are trying to grow your own homemade sweet potatoes, you need to be sure that you use an organic soil because most of the commercial growers use chemicals to keep them from shooting. Growing mushrooms. In this article, we've showed some of the easiest ways to grow your own vegetable plants in your own home just with kitchen scraps. But mushrooms aren't one of them. If you're going to try to propagate mushrooms, you'll be competing with the other fungi space. The mushroom spores enjoy the warm, humidity and nutrient-rich soil. So the cooler temperatures will give your home-grown mushrooms a higher likelihood of success against other fungi. So the best way to grow mushrooms in your home is to grow them in a pot. Trying to grow mushrooms in your garden will create too much competition from other mushrooms. So you should most definitely try the potted growing method. So growing mushrooms inside of a container will allow you to mow the container around the house and provide different climate conditions for the mushrooms. This will help them to propagate faster. People who've tried this method have experienced that they get the best results by providing a warm filtered light during the day and cool temperatures at night. So in order to get your mushrooms to propagate, you need to take off the head and place the stalk into your topsoil. You need to be sure to expose the top to the air. And you should also know that if you have the right conditions for your mushroom, you will have a new head grow from your base. You should have some very clear feedback if your mushroom has take or not very quickly. Growing pineapple. If you want to grow your own organic pineapple at your house, you will need to take the leafy green top off the pineapple and remove all the fruit, yellow, parts. So to harvest a starting piece from a pineapple, you need to take a good grip of the leaves and just twist the crown off the fruit. But if this tactic isn't for you, you can also try this simple trick. Just grab a good chef's knife and slice the top off the pineapple and scrap of the flesh of the fruit with a spoon. Then you need to take a smaller sharp knife and begin to slice small horizontal pieces off the bottom of the crown till you can see root buds. And you should also peel off a few layers of the leaves from the base of your pineapple cutting. Now when you've prepared your pineapple cutting, you need to take a container filled with warm water and place it cut side into the container. When this pineapple cutting begins to root, you need to replant it into a container with soil and be sure to water it once a week. Note, this pineapple growing method is a long-term process and you won't have a pineapple worth harvesting for 2 to 3 years. But it's worth waiting. This pineapple is 100% organic and delicious. Growing avocados. You're probably throwing away the avocado seeds every time you use this fleshy fruit for cooking. Well, you need to stop doing this immediately because we will show you an easy and simple way to grow your own 100% organic avocado plant. Warning, but you should also know that this one is going to take even longer to fruit than the pineapple if ever. Yes, house-grown avocado plants rarely fruit, and if you can grow it outdoors, it could take between 5 to 13 years before you can eat your own avocados. But people who farm avocados usually grow them off grafts. Here's what you need to do. First, take your avocado seed and wash it in the kitchen sink. Then when your avocado seed is cleaned, you need to stick in 3 or 4 toothpicks and suspend it above a glass of water. You want to place the seed broad end down and cover the seed with around 1 inch of water. You should place your container into a warm area in the house with a filtered sunlight and add water as needed. After 2 to 6 weeks you will see roots and a stem begin to sprout. So when your avocado has a stem that is 7 inch long, you need to cut it back to 3 inches. This method will make the seeds back into growing a strong root system. Then when your roots are thick enough the stem has relieved, you need to take out the toothpicks and place the plant into a rich humus soil. We highly recommend for you to use a 10-inch diameter pot. And you should leave the seed half exposed when you plant it into the soil. And now then your avocado plant is in the soil. Make sure you supply it with enough water with an occasional deep soak. This type of plant prefers a soil kept moist, but you want to avoid saturating it too much and drowning the roots. Be careful, and if you notice that your leaves are beginning to turn yellow, then you are watering it too much. If you notice this, you need to give the plant a few days from watering. And now when the plant is established, you want to begin to give it as much sunlight as you can. Note, if you notice that your leaves are beginning to brown at the tips, when you probably have a salt buildup in your soil. This means that you will need to water the soil thoroughly and let it drain. And once your avocado stem reaches 12 inches in height, you need to cut it back to 6 inches to help new shoots grow. Growing carrot tops. As we all know, the carrots are a taproot. This means that you can't actually regrow the part you eat. But you can grow a fun, attractive flowering plant for your kitchen. Growing carrot tops is very fun process, especially for the kids. Here's what you need to do. The next time you buy carrots for cooking, you need to cut off the tops and leave 1 inch of the vegetable attached. And now, same thing you did with the avocado seed, take several toothpicks and stick them into the side of the carrot. Now you need to place your carrot cutting into a container with water high enough to reach the bottom of your cutting. Make sure you place your carrot container in an area that will receive filtered sunlight, and make sure that as the water evaporates or is consumed by the carrot, you should replace it to keep the bottom of the carrot wet. And just after few days you will notice that the roots will begin to sprout. So when you notice your roots sprouting, you can transplant the plant into a bed of soil. Well, there you have it. We showed you how to grow your own homemade organic plants. And the best thing about it is that you'll only need kitchen scraps. Don't waste too much money on saplings or seeds, and you don't have to buy non-GMO products from the supermarkets. Just grow your own, nothing is stopping you. We really hope you enjoyed this post, and please share it with your friends and family because they may use some of these useful tips and tricks as well.